Hello everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to the channel. I am here today to talk about 5 underrated booktubers that are worth checking out. So by underrated, I mean really undersubscribed. So these are booktubers that I watch consistently that I feel deserve more subscribers than they currently have. And when I say undersubscribed, that doesn't mean that they have a small base at all. It just means I think they deserve more. Frankly, for this list, they could have 15,000 subscribers, which is a ton, but I really feel like they should be bigger and have more, which is why I'm talking about them on this list. That said, obviously there are larger channels that I really enjoy. I love Booksandlala. I love Murphy Napier. I love Chapter Stats, Brittany the Bibliophile. There's a ton of them that I enjoy, but they all have a large subscriber base, which is great. They deserve it. In this video, though, I wanted to highlight some booktubers that I've watched over the past couple years that have really influenced me to kind of get me here in front of the camera yet again. Through watching them, I've had so many great ideas run through my head of YouTube videos that I wanted to try to make, and just the idea that I don't have to stick to books. I can talk about anything I want. This is a media channel, and so that I can talk about books a ton if I want to, I also can talk about anything else. And so these booktubers in particular, these YouTubers, have really inspired me in that direction. So these are 5 underrated booktubers that I think you should check out. Okay, so I'm gonna go in alphabetical order here, just so I'm not highlighting 1 versus 5 or anything like that. I'm just gonna go in alphabetical order by their channel name. So first up is Cameron Chaney. Cameron generally talks about adult and middle grade horror, and that's how I ended up finding him, was through his book hauls and his collection videos. He does a lot of Goosebump collection videos. He even has like a Fear Street collection video, and I think that's how I initially found him. But Cameron is often said in other booktubers' channels to be kind of the nice guy of BookTube, one of the nicest booktubers out there. His genuineness comes through in his videos. Cameron is also an author. He does have a couple books out, one that just released this past year, and though he will mention it every once in a while, he doesn't force it down your throats. He's not begging for buys, which is really good. I absolutely think if you have a BookTube channel that has a subscriber base and you're writing, absolutely take advantage of that. Talk about your book. He's really here to talk about his collection and what he's been reading, and he also happens to be a writer. And so I love that balance that he's found there. Check out his channel if you like watching book unhauls, book reviews. His book reviews are short and to the point, and they're always worth watching. He typically avoids spoilers, which is great. And he has an insane book collection. And so he has multiple book collection videos on his channel, and they're all really interesting to watch if you like collection videos, which some people do, some people don't. I happen to enjoy them for the most part, so I really like his channel for that reason. And in his collection is a ton of 70s, 80s, and 90s horror paperbacks. That's really the kind of crux of everything that he does, are those paperback horror novels. He's obviously a big fan of Grady Hendrix's Paperbacks from Hell, and he mentions that on the channel as he's going through his collection quite a bit. If he found the book thanks to that, or if the book he has in his collection is a part of that, then he'll mention that as well, which is great. And so that's really what he loves, and his passion always comes through in his videos. And as I mentioned, he also talks about middle grade horror, which I love that. I mean, obviously I love that. You know, not only Goosebumps, I think he's the one who actually introduced me to the Monster Street series, which visit Cinefessions.com. All of the reviews for all 3 books that are out right now in that series are up there. I really enjoyed that. It is definitely a throwback to Goosebumps, so if you like the Goosebump books, you will enjoy the Monster Street books, no doubt about it. I think he's the one who introduced me to that, so that's why I recommend his channel. Not only does he love horror like I do, but he loves middle grade horror, and he's a big fan of the old style 70s, 80s, and 90s paperbacks, and he has a great collection that's worth seeing. So if any of those things sound appealing to you, definitely check out Cameron's channel. Next up on the list is Serial at Midnight. It might be a stretch to call Serial at Midnight a BookTube channel. It is very much an inspiration for this channel, where he doesn't care about sticking to one piece of media. He'll talk about movies, he'll talk about books, he'll talk about music, he'll talk about anything that interests him. He is definitely a aficionado of like 70s, 80s, and 90s cult, horror, sci-fi, fantasy, really anything. He loves animation so much. He's a huge Mill Creek Entertainment fan. Him and his wife do videos often together, and they'll do a lot of reviews of theatrical films, which honestly I don't watch those just because I don't see those movies until they come out on home video. But there's everything else on his channel that is so good, and he's grown so much over the past year. At this point, he's up to over 13,000 subscribers, which is great, but he's still on his way up and definitely deserves it. This is another one, which I could say this about all of them, but his passion for media is so evident in his videos. There are points where he'll tear up talking about something, a gift he received from a fan that reminded him of his childhood. He just loves physical media so much. And it's very evident in all of his videos. Basically, what his argument is that we are in the prime for physical media. We are getting more now than we ever have before. And for people like us, that's a great thing. His commitment to physical media and just his sincerity and his genuineness is really the reason I watch him and why I think that it might be somebody that you enjoy as well. So even though he's not really a booktuber, he definitely is someone who talks about books and is just so humble and sincere that he's absolutely worth subscribing to. So definitely check out his channel if you haven't already. So back to the more traditional booktubers. The next channel I want to highlight on this list is Hardback Hoarder. So Hardback Hoarder has the highest sub count of any I'm going to talk about today, and it's just shy of 20,000. And she focuses in on a lot of the things that booktubers will focus in on, young adult and thrillers. But she also talks a lot about graphic novels, which is very unique to her. You don't see a ton of people talking about graphic novels on BookTube. And so that's one of the reasons I stuck with her. The way I found her, though, was because she did a video that was called Reading Booksandlala's Recommendations. So basically, she kind of tested out Booksandlala's favorite books to see if they were for her. And that was a very unique idea. I loved it. And then I found a lot of these graphic novel reviews and things like that on there. She does a lot of vlogs. She does a lot of book challenges, which I really enjoy watching. She'll do TBR videos. She'll do haul videos, just like typical booktubers. But she is a big advocate. She's a librarian, and so she's a big advocate of the library. So she actually has library hauls also, which I really love. And on a personal note, she is a graduate of my alma mater. She often posts vlog videos of her at WVU. Go Ears. And so that alone, I'm like, yes, this is a West Virginia person. I'm going to check this out. But that can only get you so far. What really keeps me around is her content, and she does a really good job. She has these awesome, like, cosplay type videos that she does, especially around Halloween. It's just fun to watch, and it's really interesting to see the different creations she comes up with. She has a really great personality, though, and that's really the main reason I recommend her channel, is just because she's fun to watch. And the content she puts out is generally pretty unique from others that I've seen out there. So I definitely recommend Hardback Hoarder if you've not checked her out already. So I'm moving from the channel with the most subscribers over to the channel with the least, and that is Paperback Mania. Paperback Mania is a big proponent of 70s, 80s, and 90s paperback horror, much like Cameron Chaney. Paperback Mania is actually a middle school teacher from Southern California who just loves horror and loves talking about these kind of weird, out there, maybe less talked about horror books that you used to see on bookshelves all the time back in the, 70s, 80s, and 90s. The majority of his content is going to be book hauls, but he also does a lot of book reviews. And his book reviews are lengthy. You're talking most of the time 20 plus minutes, and he gets very detailed in them. Yes, he does talk about spoilers, but so many of these books are ones I've never even heard of and are ones that I will probably never get to, so I really don't mind watching these just because the way he describes them is so interesting. His style is very bare bones, and it's very unique to him when you compare it to other channels out there. He doesn't really do any editing. He's not worried about different graphics or anything like that. He's simply giving you his opinion on books or talking about his collection or talking about what books he picked up recently. And I really enjoy that. So this is one that you absolutely have to enjoy book hauls, but if you do, this is definitely worth checking out, specifically if you're a fan of horror. And the guy just seems like a fun guy to hang out with, which, that's always a positive. If I'm going to spend time watching BookTube videos or anything on YouTube, I want it to be from someone that I actually feel like I would enjoy spending time with, and that's definitely Paperback Mania. He's just very chill, and his passion for horror is in virtually every video he has. So definitely check out Paperback Mania if you haven't. At this point, he has just over 1,000 subscribers, so he's definitely building his subscriber base, and I look forward to seeing him grow even more from here. And last but not least is one of my favorite BookTube discoveries from last year, and this is The Shades of Orange. The Shades of Orange is another BookTube channel that is dedicated to horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and she even talks about true crime, which is one of the main reasons I kind of got hooked on her videos, because nobody talks about true crime on BookTube. Not nobody, of course, but very few people. And so to find someone that also has an interest in that genre was awesome. So The Shades of Orange, she does a lot of book reviews. She read over 200 something books last year and did a review on a ton of them. And these are going to be shorter reviews that are spoiler free, which is great. And she does a lot of, TBR videos, a lot of haul videos. I will say though, she's not much of a vlogger, which if you like your BookTube channels to be vlog heavy, then you probably will want to look elsewhere. But everything else she does is fantastic. And I think if you like adult horror, fantasy, sci-fi, and true crime, then you can't find a better channel to watch. Another thing I love about the Shades of Orange is that she actively speaks out against gatekeeping, specifically in the horror community. And I think this is so important because if you are new to this genre, or you're trying to get into any genre really, trying to get into books, whatever, there are people that are going to try to keep you out or push you down because you haven't read this, you haven't seen this, you haven't done this, whatever the case may be. And that's bullshit. Everybody starts somewhere, and not every single person can read everything, can watch everything. As you go along, you're going to try to catch up with some of those things that you've missed, that you've heard a lot about. That's just the natural progression of being a fan in any fandom, really. And so I love that she speaks against this and will call out people for their bullshit when it comes to gatekeeping, because that's good for nobody other than the elitists that are trying to keep people out. She also places a lot of emphasis on, obviously, the larger traditionally published books, but also the independently published books. She used Kindle Unlimited for a while, and she does a lot of ebooks. And so she'll buy these books for cheap or get them for review copies. And they're typically going to be books that you probably haven't heard of in the mainstream. And that's another reason I like her, because I find out a lot about books that I've just never heard of before and probably otherwise never would have heard of. And so if you are interested at all in self-published books, then this is another reason to check out the Shades of Orange. And on that same kind of idea, she tries to be very diverse with her author choice. So she specifically is always looking for female horror authors. And that's a very underrepresented subgenre within the horror world. And so the fact that she tries to point those authors out and talk about them is really cool, because again, I'm just discovering things that I otherwise probably never would have heard of, which is always the mark of a great booktuber. So definitely check out the Shades of Orange if you haven't. She's one of my favorite discoveries this last year in the world of booktube, and I definitely recommend her. All right, so that's going to do it for the 5 booktube channels that I feel are underrated and just need more subscribers. If you do check them out, please let me know down in the comments below. And also, what is your favorite booktube channel or favorite media channel on YouTube? I will put a link to every channel I discussed in this video down below. And I also included a recommended video for each channel that I feel kind of represents them best, just so you have an idea of what to expect when you subscribe to their channel. All right, if you liked what you watched, please consider subscribing. If not, thank you anyway for watching. I really appreciate it. All right, so that's going to do it for today. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I'll catch you next time.